Like, don't do it. If they're dead, if they're old.
Welcome to Movie Pain or Pleasure Podcast, the show that determines whether a movie is a fun guilty pleasure, a painful hate watch, or somewhere in between. What are we talking about?
Samaritan.
So what is Samaritan?
A movie that is entirely carried by two people.
Yeah, Samaritan is a 2022 action superhero movie released on Amazon Prime.
Amazon seems to have an obsession with superhero stuff, so this one doesn't really match up to the other stuff.
It doesn't match up to, okay, The Boys and in... are series on Amazon Prime that are much, much better than this, which they have time to stretch things out.
Maybe they should stick to series for...
Samaritan was a good try, and it bills itself as, a dark new twist on superheroes, and we're like, is it? Is it, though?
It's not even that dark.
No.
Like, he kills people.
Yeah. His fighting was fucking sweet. That was cool when he beat people up.
So let's see. Setup. There's a My Hero Academia Deku-esque kid who's obsessed with a superhero.
Okay, we've explained.
Who has a bunch of notes on said superhero. Is trying to figure out who he is. And then he accidentally finds out he lives in the neighborhood.
Are you okay?
Fuck no. Ah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I knew you were him.
But unlike the kid in My Hero Academia, he doesn't scream and fucking cry the entire time. Which
He
is
cries
why
sometimes.
I can't watch My Hero Academia. I hate it. That kid cries and screams so much.
He cried sometimes.
Well, sometimes because he lives in a shithole. So this takes place in Granite City, which is like Gotham but worse. Like Gotham from Joker with piles of trash and crime everywhere, but worse. So it's Detroit, I guess. I don't know.
Except it's not entirely covered in smog. Like, that's the only... It's covered in rain. That's what it was. It was raining the entire fucking movie, which means I would hate to live there, so... I can deal with crime and cocaine and shit, but don't give me rain.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on the East Coast in my life, and not to throw shade at the East Coast, but it felt very much like an East Coast city, like, I don't know, like Pittsburgh or something. So the movie stars Sylvester Stallone as the main superhero character, and a kid played by Javon Wana Walton.
Fucking Ashtray.
He was Ashtray in Euphoria. Man, I love that show. And he was so cool. He was a drug dealer's little brother. And he was always talking shit. He killed people. He ran weapons.
When he did
was
talk,
awesome.
He almost never talked, though, which... I liked him so much better as Ashtray. He looks weird with hair. He looks like Aang when he grows out his hair in the third season.
In this one, he's supposed to be 13 years old. In real life, this kid is about 16. He just looks young for his age. But he's supposed to be a 13-year-old boy, and he seems more like a realistic kid than Ashtray. But really, this movie was carried by these two characters. The villain, Cyrus, was played by Danish actor Pilu Asbæk. Forgive me if I mispronounce that. Who was Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones. Which, I kept looking at him, and he had an American accent, and I was thinking... Like, I've seen, like, a British accent come out of this dude's face, and finally I looked it up. He was Euron Greyjoy.
Which, he's not as bad as Euron Greyjoy.
No.
But he's not great either. Like, he's just kind of a generic asshole villain. So, Ashtray in an alternate life where his mom didn't abandon him.
Sam, I think?
Maybe.
He's Ashtray. He's Ashtray.
So, he wants to find Samaritan, and he has this funny list going of, like, people that he thinks are Samaritan, and he's gonna figure out who it is, and he's wrong every time. It's, like, a male guy that's really fast or something like that.
Yeah, if you do a close-up on the note, it's funny, like, the pizza delivery guy ran really fast, and stuff like that. The mailman's really strong.
They don't do a lot with that, though. Because there's, like, one scene with this guy who has a whole book on this is where Samaritan came from, and Samaritan's backstory... He killed his own brother.
But give some more backstory on Samaritan and his brother.
One was good, and one was bad. That's kind of it. And they decide to fight each other, and they're the only two. This is kind of a weird superhero world, because there's only these two super people.
these two twin brothers. The good one called himself Samaritan. The bad one called himself Nemesis. And he forged a hammer out of hate for his brother. And they never really explained why he hated him so much.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem.
I was able to call the twist pretty early.
Like, really
early.
If it wasn't a twist for us, but a twist for the kid, I probably would have liked that better. Like we know, because maybe he's thinking about the life he had and the arguments he had with his brother and building that up. They could have added all of that. And then, but he doesn't want to say it to the kid, because the kid's, like, really becoming his friend, and he doesn't want to be like, look, I'm the evil dude, okay?
So we're talking about Joe Smith. He's old Rocky. He lives in the shitty part of town.
He talks like old Rocky.
He has a crappy job, so he's old Rocky. And he's kind of takes on, he'll like indulge and talk to the kids in the neighborhood a little bit, but he really just wants to go home and be by himself. So he likes to find old things like clocks and radios and piece them back together because he wants to build something and make something right in the world. And should we do a spoiler for this?
Oh yeah, we're spoiling.
Okay, so spoiler, Joe is Nemesis and he's trying to kind of atone for his sins and make up for what he did. So I had that in my mind the whole time, which kind of spoils it, but I wanted to see how it would play out. I wanted to see how the characters would be surprised by it.
That was the most interesting thing they could have run with, and they don't do hardly anything with it. Like, the bad guy wins. He happens to be related to the good guy, and then he just decides being evil isn't worth it. And
yeah, this story had good bones, but they didn't pursue certain things in the way that you could in other movies.
They were way too into having Ashtray and Joe get to know each other, which was all really good, but that's like all there is.
Yeah, it's important. And then they had, and maybe they could have cut this too, Ashtray kind of falls in with the wrong crowd. He meets a guy named Cyrus, who's Euron Greyjoy, the Danish actor, and he sort of runs crimes here and there, and he's an anarchist, and he worships Nemesis, who they all believe to have died in a fire. And I realized I was putting my hands up really close to the camera, and they look huge, so I'm going to not do that anymore, because I talk with my hands, and I'm trying not to do that on camera. So, anyway, he falls in with them, commits some petty crimes with them, and he keeps having run-ins with this guy's goons. And it's kind of funny at first, and we do see Joe protect him. Now, whenever Joe beat the shit out of people, that was awesome.
That was pretty good.
Awesome.
And he's not like totally like zen now. He beats the shit out. He kills a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, but he doesn't like explode them or anything.
No,
but he'll send people through walls and into cars and stuff like that.
And it's not. It's weird. Like technically, it's very violent. There's multiple people he kills, but it's not like The Boys, where you're like,
oh no, it's not gory and
we
gross.
could show you all the insides of people. I mean, there's only so many times I can stand that.
Yeah, it's like it kind of goes past. Most superhero movies are pretty tame when it comes to violence. Like they have superpowers and they can exert like huge amounts of violence on people, but then they're really tame in what they show. They don't show a lot of blood, they don't show bones breaking, things like that. It's kind of
like Wolverine.
And it goes a little past that. It's not gory, it doesn't show him ripping heads off.
Like Wolverine could just
doing the thing with my hands again.
butcher chop everybody in the room, circumcise them, and then be on his way, but instead they're just like, he's just gonna stab people and they're gonna drop, but we're not gonna show that much blood.
Yeah, like one guy got a bomb stuck in his chest and blew up, but we didn't have to see that.
Still a cool scene, though.
Yeah, so Euron Greyjoy worships Nemesis, so there's that whole story going on.
The villain is so weird, though. Like, his whole thing, even after he learns that this is actually Nemesis he's fighting, who he worships, supposedly, but he, pissed him off by disagreeing with him, I guess. His whole plan is, I am gonna beat him with a hammer as a normal human.
Yeah, so Cyrus has been inciting riots and things like that. He steals Nemesis's mask and hammer, which had been just stored in an evidence locker in the police department.
Like in the random city, not
like the FBI or
the government. It's a fucking superhero. Like, they didn't think about that.
You'd think it'd be on a little tighter security, but I guess so the movie could happen, so they could have this. And Cyrus is he'll put on the mask and roar and everything, but it doesn't give him superpowers.
No, he's just a dude.
He doesn't gain super strength with the hammer, so I kind of laugh at him like, dude, that just, you have a mask on and you have a hammer that maybe is too heavy for you to swing.
It's the same as, like, it's all the henchmen. They do this in a lot of things, but this was, because the fight went on so long at the end, I just noticed it more. Like, when are henchmen just gonna be like, you know what, I give up.
Yeah.
I've literally seen everybody shoot him. Nothing's happening. I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, so the reveal, finally, because I'm waiting the whole time, like, he's Nemesis, when's it gonna happen? So, Cyrus kidnaps Ashtray, takes him to, like, a power plant, and he wants to kind of recreate, like, blowing this up and shutting down the city and all this stuff. And Joe comes to save him, and he finally grabs the hammer. He's like,
I'm the bad guy.
finally. And so Cyrus is like, no shit, I'm still gonna kill you. And so he fights everybody. It's like an Old Boy where he does that long fight scene and fights everybody, or Tony Jaa with the staircase. So he just fights everybody in the building.
Really awesome moment where he, like, they get in the back of his truck or something, and he comes up and he lifts the door up and he's like, "What's up?" And he drops it behind him, and you just know that he's murdering everything inside.
I know. So
there's really cool shit in there.
There is.
Just like.
Yeah, it's just kind of lackluster. It meanders. Had the two main characters, Ashtray the boy, whatever his character name is, Sam or something, and Joe / Nemesis, been played by lesser known actors, less experienced actors, I think this would have really fallen flat.
Yeah.
So
they carried a lot. Although I wish Ashtray was, like, actually Ashtray.
Just the character of Ashtray. He'd shoot everybody. He
would just kill all, like, that kid that well, he's not even a kid, he's like a 40-year-old,
the guy with the long hair.
Yeah, he's like a 40-year-old hobbit, except maybe on crack. He would just shoot him in the face or stab him through the neck.
He stabbed a guy in the neck on Euphoria.
Like,
so again, not a guilty pleasure. We weren't on the edge of our seats, although the fight scenes with Joe, Sylvester Stallone's character, were really good, and Javon Walton is just a good job acting this kid character. It's good. Like, is it worth watching? Maybe. For these two actors.
If you're just, it's a Friday and you're, like, sitting down after dinner and you want to chill out, it's alright. It's cool. I was a little disappointed, though, after seeing the whole thing. Just because as soon as I saw it was Stallone, I was like, fuck yeah, he finally gets to be a superhero. Like just a regular superhero, not like sort of comic-esque movies. Because if he was the age that he was when he was, like, the biggest action star, today he would probably be, like, the #1 superhero guy.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, I don't know, like Chris Evans.
So speaking of that, I guess they were kind of on a tight budget because there was some CGI stuff with fire and all that, and I understand you don't want to have real fire, but they do a scene where they show the battle between Nemesis and Samaritan, and he takes his mask off, and it's supposed to be a young Sylvester Stallone, and they stay on it too long. It looks like a video game character.
It was okay when it was far away.
Okay, but then they do a close-up, and like, no, don't do a close-up. He looks like an Xbox character.
When it was far away, I was like, is that Bradley Cooper? Or something? Like, just don't make humans anymore with, like, don't do it. If they're dead, if they're old. I said dead twice, because Star Wars did it twice. Like, stop it. Just get a young guy, give him a big beard. Cool. You can cover up half his face and make him look like Stallone.
Yeah, he had a goatee and dark hair.
Do that. Just stop making him with computers, because it's never good.
It didn't look good, and I know they were doing, for the people who still don't get it, that Sylvester Stallone's character was Nemesis all along. I guess they were like, oh, it's really him.
They might still be like, who the fuck is that guy?
I know, because it's just, like, the edges were too smooth and everything. It wasn't good, so it was not good CGI, which I hate CGI anyway.
We gotta make him look younger. Baby skin on adult face.
So, is this worth a watch? I would say yes.
Yeah.
For the two main actors are really good. The fight scenes are really good. It's a nice story. If you like superheroes, you might as well watch it. If you have, it's one of the better things coming out of Amazon Prime.
I don't want to be too judgy. I haven't watched a bunch of Amazon Prime. Invincible and The Boys is awesome. Everything else, it doesn't look interesting. Meh.
And it's not their original stuff necessarily. It's just like the choice of selection on Amazon Prime is always a weird dumpster fire.
It's a dumpster fire. Yeah, for sure.
So.
Like all the movies that are in the $5 bin at a Walmart that then got sold to a shitty pawn shop. That's Amazon.
That's Amazon Prime.
That's their selection. They're like, we have this German film nobody liked, and also the cripple kung fu master or something or other. Like, quality.
Yeah, we found some good bad dance movies on there.
That is true.
And I pay for Amazon Prime every year, so who's really to blame here? So overall recommendation, you're not going to be overwhelmed with joy and amazement watching it, but it's pretty decent. You know what it is? I wrote a note about this. It's a good dad babysitting movie. So, you know when your parents come over or your dad, and maybe they've done some work around the house and you have dinner and stuff, and there's really not much to do, so you put on a movie. And your dad immediately falls asleep like 10 minutes in, because that's what dads do. And my dad likes action movies, but he always falls asleep during them, so I would put this on, and there's no nudity, there's no weirdness, so it's not going to be embarrassing to watch with your parents. Violence is fine. Mild cursing is fine. Other stuff, no. But this is a good dad-sitting movie. You need to put on something for your dad, put this movie on. That or Taken.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. Okay, recommendations.
Recommendations.
I'm just going to get mine out of the way, because I think I only have the one. Don't Breathe. 1 and 2, even though I haven't seen 2. If you want to see another movie about an old dude who's just badass...
And terrifying.
Which, by the way, I forgot to mention, the other disappointment in this movie is I thought Samaritan was just gonna be like an old dude who beats the shit out of people. I was hoping that's what I would get, and instead I got Stallone with superpowers, which is it's cool, but it's not as interesting. So, this one, though, an old blind guy. Definitely no superpowers, except for hearing. And smelling? Maybe?
And being able to sense when people are in his house and...
Don't breathe. That moment when you hear that in the film. Ugh.
When we watched it. We watched that on Amazon Prime.
Yes, we did.
So sometimes Amazon Prime has some gems.
It is.
This old dude is terrifying.
And it's very... There are a couple, like... not exactly twists, but twists. Like,
oh, yeah, there's some twists.
Revelations.
And there are really no... There were a lot of morally gray characters.
Very. The whole time you keep going back and forth on, like...
There's really no one to completely root for, which is more like real life.
2, I assume he's more like a good guy, but either way, he's badass, so I want to watch it.
So what he did with the woman in his basement is pretty fucked up, but...
Anyway.
So I understand grief and revenge and all that, but yeah. Anyway, Don't Breathe.
Yeah.
So my 2 recommendations are Unbreakable, if you want to see Bruce Willis with some old man strength, and Rocky Balboa, if you want to see old Sylvester Stallone walking around the crappy part of Philadelphia, waxing poetic with his neighbors, and just trying to get by. Yeah. Like Joe Smith / Nemesis. So good. Yeah. That's my second favorite Rocky movie.
And he's got the best coach ever.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
So... There you go. A basic superhero movie.
Okay superhero movie. So if you want to hear us talk about other superhero movies and other things, if you want to join our cult and be my victim, you can do that in a number of ways. You can watch us on Twitch, I guess. I don't use it. Are we on Discord?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know how it works. Discord, YouTube. You can listen on Anchor, Spotify, and iTunes. You can look at pictures of us on Instagram, Movie Pain or Pleasure Podcast. Join our cult, be my victim, be like Nemesis and choose good.
And don't piss off old people. They'll beat the
don't
shit
piss
out
off
of you.
old people.